Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. It was close to 10 on a Thursday night when my phone buzzed. I was still in the office, wrapping up quarterly numbers for Harborline Creative. I picked up the phone, expecting an email from a client. Instead, it was a notification from Instagram. Rachel had posted. The caption stopped me cold, finally leaving my controlling husband for my soulmate. Warner sees me for who I truly am. No more being silenced. Time for real love. Below the text was a photo of her leaning against a brick wall, hand in Warner's, smiling like it was an ad for new beginnings. Comments poured in fast, yoga instructors clapping hands emojis, her cousin Lila writing, "Proud of you, sis. No woman should stay chained to a toxic man." I read it twice, maybe 3 times. Then I tapped the little heart. Like. 30 seconds later, my phone lit up with a text from her. "Did you seriously just like my post about leaving you?" "Yeah, good for you. When are you moving out?" I replied. Dots blinked, stopped. After 5 minutes of hesitation, another message landed. "That's it? No begging? No second chance?" "No, you've made your choice. I respect it." The screen stayed silent for a long time. Then, "Fine. I'll get my stuff tomorrow. And don't forget, I deserve half of Harborline." I didn't reply. I set the phone down and leaned back in my chair. Rachel thought a post would unravel me. Instead, I looked at the numbers on my screen, contracts signed, accounts stable, and realized the company was still exactly where I left it. Mine. I closed the laptop. Tomorrow was coming, and I'd be ready. When I got back that night, I didn't pour a drink, didn't pace. I sat at the kitchen counter, opened my laptop, and started making changes. Rachel wanted half the business. She was about to find out what half of nothing looked like when you don't hold any real keys. First, I called the credit card company and canceled the 2 business cards in her name. One for office supplies, the other she used for client lunches that always happened to be at boutique shops. Next, I logged into our systems, client portal, bookkeeping software, cloud storage, and reset every password. 2-factor authentication, new backups, all under my control. At midnight, I sent an email to our building manager requesting that the locks be changed at Harborline first thing in the morning. By 12:30, I drafted a clean message to all clients. Leadership restructuring underway. No interruption of service. Dylan Morgan remains your primary point of contact. Not a word about Rachel. Just stability. By 1, I had gathered receipts and scanned them into a folder. Pay stubs showing Rachel had drawn a salary since the day she joined. Copies of the incorporation papers dated 5 years before we met. Emails of me negotiating contracts, signing leases, handling every dollar that kept the place alive. Finally, I packed up a few boxes in the spare room, her notebooks, framed photos, and clothes she kept in the office closet. When I was done, I sat back and let out a slow breath. No anger, no sadness. Rachel thought Harborline was built on Instagram captions and motivational hashtags. But when the card stopped working and the door codes changed, she'd see what it really ran on: discipline, records, and signatures with my name on them. I shut down the laptop, set the alarm, and went to bed. Slept deeper than I had in months. Tomorrow would be noisy, but tonight, the order was mine. At 9 sharp the next morning, I was already at Harborline when I saw her car. Rachel stepped out first, sunglasses on. Warner climbed out after her, wearing a bomber jacket too big and trying to look tough. Rachel spotted me through the glass and stormed up to the door. "Open it, Dylan. I'm here for my company." "Your personal things are at the house. What's here belongs to the company." She pounded on the glass. "You don't get to decide that. Half of Harborline is mine." Before I could answer, building security came down the hall. The guard, Victor, looked from me to her. "Unless he lets you in, you're not authorized." Rachel's jaw clenched. "I'm Mrs. Morgan." I leaned forward. "According to last night's post?" "Not anymore." Warner tried to puff up his chest. "Come on, man. Don't make this ugly." I gestured to the empty hallway. "Nothing here is yours, Rachel." Rachel glanced at me. "This isn't over." She stormed off. Warner followed, muttering under his breath. I thought that would be the end of it for the day, but by lunch, I had 3 emails from clients. Rachel had sent out a blast announcing Harborline 2.0 and inviting them to a webinar she was hosting. She called herself the founder, said she was finally free to lead with vision, One client, Emma Lyons, forwarded me the invite with a note. "Is this a joke? We thought you were Harborline." I called her back immediately. "Nothing changes on our end. I'll handle your campaign personally." At 3, my banker phoned. "Mr. Morgan, someone attempted to access your business account this morning with your company EIN, claimed to be a co-owner." I already knew who. "I appreciate you flagging it." Day 1 wasn't even over, and Rachel was already swinging wild. By Saturday morning, the fallout had already spread. My phone buzzed with a call from a printer we'd used before. "Mr. Morgan," the manager said carefully, "your wife ordered 3,000 business cards yesterday. They say Rachel Lane, CEO, Harborline Creative. When should we expect payment?" I almost laughed. "You won't. She has no authority to place orders. If you printed them, the bill is between you and her." Silence, then a sigh. "That's what I figured. She promised you'd cover it once she took over." "She won't be taking over." That was only the first call. 2 more vendors reached out with similar complaints. Rachel had promised design work, sign production, even a speaking slot at a marketing expo. Each time I told them the same thing. Without my written authorization or the company card, Harborline wasn't responsible. By noon, an email landed from Rachel herself. It wasn't an apology. It was an invoice. 3 years of visionary direction, $420,000. Brand authorship, $80,000. Emotional strain, $25,000. Total, $525,000. Payable immediately. I drafted a reply in 20 minutes, attaching documentation. Salary paid over 3 years, $165,000. Personal charges on company accounts, $38,700. Payments to consultant, Warner Vale, $32,000. Total owed back to Harborline, $235,700. Check welcome. I hit send. By evening, I got a call from Marisol Keene, my attorney. "Dylan, she just filed a trademark request for the Harborline name. She's also trying to open a new account under that identity." "What happens now?" I asked. "We block her. I'll draft a cease and desist tonight, but keep every receipt. Don't delete anything. If she escalates, we'll need the record." "Already on it," I said. Rachel thought she was fighting with captions and invoices. I was fighting with contracts and case law. One of those has weight. The other is smoke. It was late afternoon on Monday when I heard the knock. Heavy, insistent. When I opened the door, Rachel stood on the porch with her brother, Damian Lane, and a uniformed officer. "Mr. Morgan?" the officer asked. His badge read Patel. "Your wife says she's been locked out of marital property." Rachel crossed her arms. "He's hiding things. Cash, equipment, the works. I want what's mine." I stepped aside and kept my voice steady. "Officer, Rachel left voluntarily. She's been living with another man. Her personal belongings are boxed in the guest room, ready to go. The house and company assets are legally mine. Documents are here if you'd like to see them." Patel nodded. "Show me." In the dining room, I handed him a folder. Deed, incorporation papers, receipts for electronics purchased years before Rachel and I met. He flipped through, lips pressed thin. Rachel's tone rose. "He's lying. There's a safe in his office, full of cash." I shook my head. "That safe is a filing cabinet. Client contracts. You're welcome to check." Patel walked over, opened the cabinet, and leafed through a stack of folders. He turned back to her. "These are documents, not cash." Rachel stomped toward the living room. "Fine, I'll take the TV. I bought it." I pulled up the receipt on my phone. 2 years before we met. "The blender, then. The espresso machine. I'm the one who used them." Patel's patience thinned. "Ma'am, only your clothing and personal items. Nothing purchased by him before marriage? Nothing tied to the business?" Rachel's face flushed. She yanked a glass design award off the shelf and hurled it to the floor. The sound shattered through the house. Patel sighed, reached for his radio. "That's destruction of property. You'll be cited." Damian muttered, "Rachel, let's go." She glared at me, but Patel was already writing the report. Control had slipped further from her hands. All she had left was noise. By Wednesday morning, Rachel had moved her circus to my building's lobby. When I walked in, she was seated at a folding table with a banner taped to the front. Rachel Lane Consulting, the real visionary behind Harborline. She waved at a client coming through the doors. "Don't let Dylan fool you. I built this place. I can take your brand to the next level." The client, Amelia Price, looked from Rachel to me. Isn't this the same Rachel who pitched that tagline last year? Experience the future with an extra E? Rachel's smile faltered. That was a printer error. Amelia raised an eyebrow. We saw the draft. It wasn't she walked past without another word. Security moved in within minutes, escorting Rachel out as she shouted about patriarchy and stolen dreams. By the time I reached my office, the whole floor was buzzing. That afternoon, I saw her new GoFundMe page circulating. Help a female visionary escape financial abuse. The donations totaled $40, $30 from her mother, $10 from her cousin Lila. Around 6, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Hey man, it's Warner. We should talk. I leaned back in my chair. No, we shouldn't. Look, Rachel's in a tough spot. Maybe you could, I don't know, give her a transition stipend. Like a severance package. Why would I do that? You loved her once. She gave you years. Doesn't she deserve a little cushion? I let the silence hang for a beat. Warner, is this about her? Or is this about your rent? He didn't answer right away. Then, that's cold, man. I ended the call. 2 hours later, a former coworker sent me screenshots of Warner's dating profile. There he was. New photos, new lines, life coach, searching for a queen who knows her worth. The timestamp showed it had been active for weeks. Rachel had traded a husband for a soulmate, and her soulmate was already shopping for the next one. Family court was short and almost mechanical. My attorney, Marisol Keene, handed the judge a stack of documents, incorporation papers dated 5 years before my marriage, payroll records showing Rachel's salary, bank statements separating my business from our household finances. Rachel's lawyer argued that she had sacrificed her own career to build Harborline. The judge flipped through the file, unimpressed. Mrs. Lane, the evidence shows you received a salary for your role. The company is a premarital asset. No division applies. The gavel came down quickly. 2 months of modest spousal support, $1,200 a month. Nothing else. Rachel stormed out, whispering to Damien that the system was rigged. I walked out steady, folder in hand, and didn't look back. 3 days later, I heard from a mutual acquaintance. Warner had convinced Rachel to add him onto her personal checking account, said it was for their shared future. By the end of the week, her account balance read 0. Warner's phone was off, his social media wiped clean. He was gone. At 2 in the morning, my phone rang. Rachel's name lit up the screen. Against my better judgment, I answered. Her voice cracked between sobs. He drained me, Dylan. Everything I had. Please, I don't have anywhere to go. I kept my tone even. You still have your parents. Damien has a spare room. You have options. You don't understand. This is all your fault. If you hadn't cut me off, I cut in. Rachel, you announced to the world that you were leaving me for someone else. You tried to steal my company. You smashed my award in front of a police officer. These were your choices. The line went quiet. Then came a faint whisper. So, you're really not going to help me? No, I said. Not anymore. The sobbing stopped. She hung up. For the first time since that Thursday night, I felt the chapter close. News trickled back in pieces. Rachel had moved into her parents' house on the edge of town. Within weeks, she was appearing in her cousin Lila's Essential Oils live streams, pitching financial freedom to an audience that rarely cracked double digits. Her Instagram feed shrank to a handful of likes, most from family. The spotlight she'd craved had burned out. Harborline went the other direction. Without Rachel's constant pivots and half-baked slogans, the team settled into a real rhythm. I hired a new creative director, Isabella Chen. Portfolio stacked, deadlines hit like clockwork. Within 3 months, we landed 2 major accounts we'd been chasing for years. Clients actually thanked me for the stability. One afternoon, an email pinged. Subject line, new LinkedIn connection request. Rachel. Her profile headline read, Former CEO of Harborline Creative, 2019 to 2024. Visionary leader seeking new opportunities. I reported the profile for false information and blocked it. Life grew quiet again. I replaced the Broken Glass Award with a new one from a recent campaign. This one earned without distractions. I started dating someone with her own career, someone who didn't need my company to define her worth. Evenings were simple, cooking, reading, sometimes just silence. Sometimes I think back to that Thursday night. Rachel had tried to detonate my life with a single post. All it had taken to steady the ground was a simple press of the heart button. Like. It was the first boundary, and the cleanest one. When someone shows you who they are, believe them, and change the locks. Thank you for watching. Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. My name is Brad Turner. I'm 40, steady, and not easily rattled. 2 years ago, I got into a relationship with Nicole. She was sharp, charming, and had that restless spark that made her seem like she always had somewhere bigger to be. People said we were an odd pair, but I thought the balance worked. I liked stability. She liked momentum. When my father passed away last spring, things changed. The house, the land, and a sizable inheritance were now under my name, though the legal paperwork was still moving through Silas McKay, my family's attorney. Nicole started asking more questions about timelines and numbers, not in a direct way, more in passing like, "Do you know when Silas will finish everything?" Once that's settled, we should look into bigger investments, right? I brushed it off. Grief was still heavy. And money wasn't what I wanted to talk about. Around the same time, Nicole's habits shifted. She began keeping her phone face down on the table. She claimed late-night marketing calls with her team, but when I walked past the bedroom, I'd hear the quick, hushed tone of someone not talking about work. Once, while folding laundry, I found a bar receipt in her jacket pocket from a place 2 towns over. She said it was a client thing. I didn't argue. I've never believed in chasing shadows. Still, I kept track of details. Times, dates, receipts. Patterns reveal themselves if you wait long enough. One night, over dinner, I told her plainly, "Nicole, if you ever feel like this relationship isn't what you want, just say it. Words cost less than secrets." She smiled like it was a joke. "Don't be dramatic, Brad. You overthink everything." I let it slide. But the truth is, I wasn't overthinking. I was observing. And soon enough, it would turn into proof. It happened on a Tuesday evening. Nicole had left her phone on the kitchen counter while she went upstairs to shower. Normally, she guarded that thing like a vault, but this time she was careless. The screen lit up with a preview of a message, and curiosity got the better of me. I unlocked it. What I saw wasn't just suspicion confirmed. It was betrayal written plain as day. There were threads of messages between Nicole and a man named Xavier Holt. I knew the name vaguely. He was an old boyfriend of hers from years back. The texts weren't old, though. They were fresh. One of them stopped me cold. "I'm just waiting for his inheritance. Then I'm yours." She had sent it. My girlfriend. Talking about me as if I were an obstacle, not a partner. Another message followed. "He has no idea. Once the estate clears, I'll have what we need to start over." Xavier's replies were weak echoes of her promises. He liked the sound of it, but it was clear she was the one driving the plan. I didn't feel anger, not right away. It was more like a switch flipping. My pulse slowed, my thoughts sharpened. This wasn't about love anymore. It was about strategy. I scrolled, taking screenshots of everything. Weeks of conversations. Her late-night whispers weren't about clients. They were about me, about money, about a future she was already building with someone else. I emailed the screenshots to myself, then deleted the sent items and cleared the trash folder. Nicole never knew. When I heard the shower turn off upstairs, I put her phone back exactly where she had left it. When she came back down, she glanced at me. "You look serious," she said. I stirred my coffee slowly. "Just work on my mind." She smirked and walked past me, humming. I watched her, realizing for the first time that I was living with someone who saw me as a stepping stone. That night, I lay in bed next to her, silent. I already knew. The game had changed. After that night, every word Nicole said felt like it had a double meaning. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I tested her. One Saturday morning, while we sat on the porch drinking coffee, I asked casually, "What would you do if you suddenly had a lot more money?" She laughed too quickly. "Travel. Maybe invest in something." "Why?" I shrugged. "Just curious. You bring up the future a lot." Her eyes flickered, then she smiled again, all charm. "Don't worry. I'm not going anywhere." The more she talked, the more obvious her nervousness became. I made a mental note of every slip. That afternoon, I called Miriam Cross, an old friend I trusted. I told her what I had found. She listened quietly, then said, "Brad, don't blow up yet. Gather everything. Once you show your hand, you can't take it back." "I know," I said. "That's why I need patience." Miriam's tone hardened. Patience and proof. Don't let her twist it. She was right. Nicole was good at spinning a story. If I confronted her with nothing but anger, she'd find a way to turn it around. That evening, Nicole floated the idea of selling part of my father's property to fund new opportunities. She framed it like it was for us, but I could see the greed behind her suggestion. "Let's not rush anything," I told her calmly. "Silas will settle the estate when the time is right." She frowned, tapping her nails on the table. "Sometimes I think you're too cautious. You play it safe until life passes you by." I met her eyes, steady. "Or maybe I don't like gambling with things I've worked for." She dropped the subject, but her irritation lingered in the air. By the following week, Nicole's patience was wearing thin. She'd been dropping hints about next steps almost every day, pushing harder than before. One evening over dinner, she leaned across the table. "Brad, we should think about selling the cabin. It's just sitting there. We could invest the money, make it grow." I set my fork down. That cabin has been in my family for 3 generations. Selling it isn't on the table. Her smile was tight. "You're so stubborn sometimes. Don't you ever want more than this?" I didn't take the bait. "What I want is to secure what's already mine." She sighed dramatically, then tried a softer angle. "Maybe we could meet with a financial advisor, you know? Someone who can show us how to use your inheritance smartly." That was her mistake. She said, "Your inheritance," like it was already halfway hers. I nodded slowly. "Good idea. Let's schedule a meeting. Together. With Silas." Nicole froze for a split second before recovering with a laugh. "Oh, come on. He's old school. We need someone modern, forward-thinking. Silas has handled my family's affairs for decades. If we're serious, we do it right." Her eyes narrowed. "Why are you suddenly so controlling about this?" I kept my voice even. "Because rushing decisions with money has ruined better people than us." The conversation ended there, but her mask slipped. She snapped at me later over something trivial, dirty dishes of all things, and her tone carried more bite than usual. It wasn't about dishes. It was about me not moving fast enough for her plan. That night, while she texted in the living room, I sat in the bedroom and reviewed the evidence again. Screenshots, bank receipts, call logs. It was all airtight. She thought I was cautious to a fault. She didn't realize caution, when sharpened, becomes strategy. The next time I moved, it wouldn't be a test. It would be a reveal. It was a Thursday night when I decided the time had come. Nicole was sitting at the dining table with her laptop open, pretending to work. I walked in carrying a plain folder. "Can we talk for a minute?" I asked. She glanced up, wary. "Sure. What's this about?" I placed the folder on the table and slid it toward her. Inside were printed screenshots of her conversations with Xavier Holt. The top one was bold and unmistakable. "I'm just waiting for his inheritance, then I'm yours." Nicole's face drained of color. She tried to speak, but only managed a dry laugh. "You went through my phone?" I kept my voice steady. "I read what you wrote. Those are your words, no one else's." She flipped through the pages, her hands trembling. "It's not what it looks like." "It looks like betrayal," I said. Her tone sharpened. "You're overreacting. Xavier is nothing. I was just venting, saying stupid things I didn't mean." "Nicole," I replied evenly. "People don't plan futures in text messages by accident." She shoved the papers back at me. "So what now? You're going to throw away our relationship over a few texts?" I leaned forward. "No, you threw it away. I'm just acknowledging the truth." Her eyes filled with panic. "Brad, listen, I love you. I was confused. I didn't mean any of it. We can fix this." I stood, calm as ever. "Silas is already securing the inheritance separately. You won't touch it. As for us, we'll separate cleanly." Her expression hardened. "So, that's it? You're punishing me?" "No," I said. "I'm protecting myself. There's a difference." She sat there speechless, staring at the evidence she could never explain away. I left the folder on the table and walked out of the room. That night, I slept soundly for the first time in months. The pretense was over. The next morning, Nicole showed up in the kitchen already dressed, makeup sharp, eyes red from little sleep. She slammed her coffee cup down and snapped, "So you're just going to destroy everything we built? Over nothing?" I didn't look up from the newspaper. Over the truth. Not nothing. Her voice cracked, moving from anger to desperation. "Brad, I was stupid, all right? I got caught up. Xavier doesn't matter. He never did. I love you." I folded the paper slowly. "You love what you thought you could take. That's not the same." Her hands balled into fists. "You're punishing me. After all I've done for us?" "You did things for yourself," I said. "Now you can pack what's yours. Today." She glared at me, then stormed off upstairs. For the next hour, I heard drawers slamming, hangers clattering. When she finally came down, suitcase in hand, she stopped in the doorway. "This isn't over," she hissed. "Yes, it is," I replied evenly. She left, slamming the door behind her. The house went quiet, but not empty, just still. That afternoon, I sent copies of the text transcripts to my attorney, Silas McKay. He called me back within the hour. "You did the right thing by documenting everything," Silas said. "This protects your estate. She won't get near it." "Good," I said. "That's all I wanted." Later, I got a call from Clara Vance, a colleague of Nicole's I'd met at a company dinner once. Her tone was cautious. "Brad, I probably shouldn't get involved, but Nicole has been distracted at work. People are starting to notice. She's made mistakes with a client account. It's not looking good." "Thank you for telling me," I said. It was clear. Her personal schemes were spilling into her professional life. The walls were closing in on her, not because of me, but because of her own choices. That night, I sat on the porch. Nicole was gone. The betrayal was undeniable. But so was the relief. The house felt lighter in her absence. For the first time in months, I could hear the rhythm of my own life without her interruptions. I started putting the pieces back together in practical ways. On weekends, I drove out to the family cabin and began restoring it. Fresh paint on the siding, new boards on the deck. Manual work gave me clarity. I started saying yes to dinners with friends I'd drifted from, to Saturday basketball games with old coworkers, to simple routines that had nothing to do with Nicole. At the same time, the fallout on her end grew louder. Clara Vance called again, quietly updating me. Nicole's project was reassigned. Management's looking into her conduct. She doesn't say much, but everyone knows something's wrong. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. Nicole had built her downfall step by step, thinking she was clever. Xavier Holt, the man she thought was her escape, vanished as soon as the money angle disappeared. She was left holding the wreckage. One night, my phone buzzed with a voicemail from an unknown number. Xavier's voice, low and awkward. "Brad, look, I didn't know it was like that. I don't want trouble. I'm staying out of it." I deleted it without replying. Instead, I focused on the garden I'd planted out back. The house, the land, the inheritance, it was all intact. But more than that, my peace was returning, piece by piece. One evening, as I was closing up the workshop, my phone buzzed. A number I knew but hadn't seen in months. Nicole. The message was short. "We should talk. I'm ready to be honest." I read it once. The words carried no weight anymore. Whatever truth she wanted to share was months too late. I deleted the message and blocked the number. No anger, no satisfaction, just finality. Silas stopped in one afternoon to shake my hand and say, "Your father would have been proud of how you handled things." Nicole, meanwhile, faded into whispers. Clara mentioned she'd left the company abruptly. No one knew where she'd gone. Or maybe they just didn't care. As for Xavier Holt, he disappeared completely, a shadow that vanished once the promise of easy money evaporated. I leaned back in the porch chair and thought about that first night I'd read her texts. "I'm just waiting for his inheritance. Then I'm yours." She believed my value was in what I could leave behind. She was wrong. My inheritance wasn't the money. It wasn't the house or the land. It was the resilience to rebuild, the clarity to protect myself, and the freedom to start over without her. The best revenge wasn't confrontation or spectacle. It was this: sitting on my own porch, knowing that the life Nicole tried to exploit had only gotten stronger without her. I finished my coffee and set the mug down. She had been waiting for an inheritance. What she never understood was that mine wasn't money. It was freedom. Thank you for watching.